I once had a colleague, I think back in 2014. I just asked this person a simple question.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen to our world if everyone kept the 10 commandments as they are? Just think about it. Whether you're an atheist or you are anyone. This is what this lady said. She said it would be perfect. But I think it would be boring. That's what she said.
There is this overarching problem that has evidently haunted men from the ages of antiquity, and that problem is evil. Today we ask ourselves, where does evil come from? And how can we overcome it? Our inventions have not helped us to conquer this problem. Our politicians, rulers, and governments, with all tactics that we may try to put in place, we have not yet conquered this phenomenon. We want to discuss this issue in light with religion, particularly Christianity, in order for us to find out where evil comes from and what we can do in order to overcome evil. His name is Brother Thato. No.
Yes. It is.
I should be updated. Okay. Today, in the studio, I am with Thato Letuka, with whom we are going to discuss this seemingly difficult but albeit crucial philosophical question or phenomenon. And we are going to have this discussion and try to find out what the Bible says about the problem of evil, where evil comes from. Are there any parallels that we see between the higher powers and whatever that is happening around us here on earth? So, relax and follow through and also comment. We want to know your thoughts on this discussion that we are having also. My brother.
And TV.
Yeah, I sometimes forget that you are no longer with us this side.
Okay, yeah.
We have crossed the border.
On the side of the bachelors, yes, I'm no longer a bachelor.
Yes. Can you introduce yourself to the audience so that they know who they are following through with?
Okay. Listeners and all those who are viewing this discussion, my name, as it has been aforementioned, I am Thato Letuka. Well, of course, by virtue of being married, I'm now called Thato Letuka. Especially by younger ones who are coming, but my friends, they still call me Tukas. They still call me Brother Letuka. So whichever comes to mind is the one which is acceptable. But for those who do not know me, those are my names. And I really appreciate this interview, the platform for us to discuss these issues. I think these are deep philosophical issues which are not discussed only within the fraternity of Christianity, but even outside of Christianity as well. You can talk about all religious systems, even those who are non-stakeholders in religion. I'm talking about agnostics, I'm talking about atheists.
Yes.
These are issues that we deal with and battle with every day. So I think for our larger spectrum of audience, everyone is welcome. Yes. Isn't it?
And speaking of atheists, I think for the most part, they are actually overwhelmed and feel that the religion thing is a scam because of the same problem that we are talking about.
Oh, yes.
The problem of evil. Because I have watched many arguments, debates, documentaries that are, trying to discuss the existence of a deity, a loving one.
Yes.
Yeah, how can he be, loving, and powerful. Yet we have this problem that we are suffering because these people, they speak from experience. They don't just say, I was looking at someone going through hard times.
Yes.
They are saying, I have gone through hard time. I have witnessed my child dying.
Yes.
And no one did help. You see that? Or I have seen injustice. So the problem is, why can't we just do away with this thing? I mean, we have lots of things that we have, invented and discovered as people. We are living in the artificial intelligence age now, where we have that mind that can be able to solve complex algorithms and come up with even philosophical issues. We're able to give it a say on it, and it means something, whatever that it proposes. But the problem still remains.
The problem of evil.
The problem of evil.
And injustice.
Yes. So the interest that I have, which I believe our viewers are also interested in, is where does this thing come from?
All right.
Yeah, and how can we conquer it? I remember one of the stories that were shared when I was still young about the two gentlemen who were sick and tired of evil.
Okay.
And they took upon themselves to go and hunt it.
Okay.
Yeah, they took all weapons of sorts that they could ever possess. And they went many days. Yeah, in storytelling, it will say they went. Many
days, for many days. Yes.
Yeah, for a long time until you sleep. But they went until there was a time when they were about to give up. And they were like, "Hi, we have traveled so long now, and our food are well nigh depleted. Can't we just go back?" But they saw the forest, the big forest, and they were like, perhaps it might be hiding in there.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go in there and see. Maybe it might be hiding in there. So they went into the forest, searched and searched and searched, and they came across a box.
Okay.
And when they opened the box, behold, money.
Okay.
A lot of money. These people are tired, hungry. They were like, you see, now that we have money, it means we can be able to find ourselves food, gather our strength, and
continue the
soldier
journey.
on.
Okay.
Yes. So they propose that one of them sits next to the box, another one takes some of the money, goes back to buy food, and then come back so that they continue. Of course, they will need money.
Yes.
Also to continue. But on the way, this one who went to buy food thought that this money,
it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I think I should have all of it alone. Yeah. So what can I do? I mean, I'm hungry and I have money here. So he went and bought food and ate. And bought more food for the other one. And also bought something else.
All right.
Which is poison. And poisoned the food for that other one.
Okay.
At the same time, that one who was left at the box also thought to himself that I think this money should belong to me alone.
Okay.
And he has all the weapons with him.
Okay.
And he was like, let me wait for him to come back with food. And once he has arrived within range,
I blow his brain.
I blow his mind. I blow his brains, and I eat food. I gather strength. I don't know. I no longer need to be looking for evil anymore. I have money. Let me just go back. My problems are solved. The reason why I went on this search for evil, it is because I had problems. I can buy solutions now because I have money. So that one comes, and then when he's within range, this one shoots at this guy, and he's now dead. This one stands up, gathers his strength and goes for food.
All right.
And he eats and he gets satisfied.
But in the process.
Yeah, in the process, something is conquering him within.
Oh, yeah.
You see that? And then they are both dead there, and their mission has accomplished them.
They didn't accomplish the mission. The mission
Accomplished them. So,
Okay.
let us go through this thing. Yeah, take me through, and I want to actually find out. I think it benefits all of us.
Yeah. Actually, in the MTV, I think this is the best introduction ever because it sheds more light on the entirety of our discussion. I think I'll be referring to this story that we just heard from the beginning as we are progressing with our discussion. Let me just begin by saying I do have many friends. Of course, some of them are atheists. And as you said before, one of the strongest arguments, which are sound to me from the atheists for not believing in God, is the issue of God's character and the morality of the God that we worship. If it cannot be consistent with our definition of justice and mercy, then that God ceases to exist. I have had a lot of arguments about God, but the one which stands highest, I think, is the issue of moral evils that even exist in the name of God and religion. There are so many atrocities, so many brutalities and bloodsheds that have been happening in the name of religion, in the name of God, questioning the character of God. And so these people end up saying, we don't think there's any God in the world. And so I asked my friend after our short discussion, so how do you define the element of morality, good versus evil? Because before we can talk about the origin of evil, we need to acknowledge the existence of evil. And if we acknowledge the existence of evil, then we should have a uniform definition of evil. So what
Okay,
this guy, yes.
Yeah, because it cannot just be upon me
Yes,
to say this is evil.
exactly.
And then you also have your own definition of evil.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, we should to come up with a particular consensus. That this is good
And this is
evil.
evil, yes. So for us Christians or anyone who is religious, the concept of morality, good versus evil, comes from the deity himself. But when it comes to the atheist world, since there is no God, the concept of evil and good becomes relative. So it depends on how you as an individual define it. Then those who share the same sentiments as the community, you now set standards for what is good and what is evil. This is why he was making some examples that in some cultures, there are certain things that we might consider evil. But in some cultures, you find that these things are not evil as such. Talk about one of the things that happen in our own country. I think it's in Kuti, among the Baputi clan. There's this culture or tradition of amputating some of the fingers. I'm just not sure whether it's the second finger or whichever finger. But according to them, that's the right thing to do. It's part of their rituals. It's a good thing to them. Maybe if they do not do it, there may be some repercussions from the ancestors and from all that they believe in. But others who are not from the same society, come from outside, and they see this thing and they think, this is evil. This should not be happening to these little ones. They should not grow up without full fingers. You understand? So from those few examples, we can see that certain things can be good in other regions, they can be evil in other regions. But there are certain things which, as the entire world, we agree that these ones are evil. This is why you will find that, I'll just make a few examples. Talk about things like theft. Theft is abominable everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
Even atheists, my atheist friends do not support theft. They do not support rape. They do not support murder.
Yes.
But these are the things that exist in our world today. So I want us to shift our focus from the things that may be debatable between atheists and non-atheists, at least to set a ground on the things that we all agree, the entire world, that this thing is evil. And those are the examples that I have made. So if we can agree on those greater evils that we agree upon, whether you're an atheist, a Christian, a Muslim, or whosoever, there is a problem of evil which exists. There's a problem of injustice. There are things that we all agree that they are evil. Even the countries, the nations, they agree that this thing is evil. So now that we are going to talk about evil, I want us to discuss it in that context only and leave aside those things that set differences between, the relativity of the issue of morality.
Okay.
If you allow me to start from that point.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, take me wherever you want.
Okay, yes. So there's something that I showed this guy. I said, okay, fine. Let's assume God is not there. As is the supposition of the atheist. Then as a society, we agree as a society that rape is wrong, theft is wrong, murder is wrong. Remember the story that we started with?
Yes.
Whatever those people did, the murdering, the evil thoughts that they have towards one another, we all agree as human beings that was wrong, that was evil, as much as they were looking for evil. Now, I asked this person, why then is it that even those things that we consider evil as a people, why is it that we continue doing them? They are bad, we agree. Theft can never be good. We agreed on that one. Yes. Rape can never be good. We agreed on that one. Murder can never be good. We agreed on that one. Why is it that people still rape? Why is it that people still murder? Why is it that people still lie? We know that lying is wrong. Yes. All cheating is wrong. You can talk about the examinations that are being written by students. There are heavy penalties in some institutions just for cheating. Yes. We know that this is wrong. Why are people doing it despite the fact that it is wrong? I asked him that question. To date, he never answered.
It's a difficult question. I think, it's difficult even for me, because like you were saying, everybody who has a mind to think knows what is wrong.
Exactly.
Especially on the ground of the common,
understanding
that we have.
Yes.
And those points that we have, articulated that form this bucket of consensus that we are saying stealing is wrong, rape is wrong, and so on and so forth.
Murder,
murder, but we see it happening. And I think anyone who commits, evil, it's not like they have forgotten that this is evil. They still know that it's evil, but they do it anyway.
So why is that? Where is that thing coming from? Like knowing that this is evil and deciding to do it either way. Now, the story that you began with, the center of the whole thing, the whole evil that we see existing between these two people who went out to go and look for evil, they find themselves committing evils and they die from the same evils.
Yeah.
It is the problem of selfishness. There's somewhere we are going. Selfishness, to think about oneself and not other people. We know that it is a good thing to think about other people first. But at the same time, there's an urge to place yourself first instead of other people.
I see. Because the story that we heard earlier puts that this was a lot of money.
Exactly. That was a lot of money.
What is half of a lot of money? it's still a lot of money.
It's still a lot of money, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But, meaning there was no problem.
Yes.
If these people could share this money,
It will
because
still be
half-
enough for them.
Exactly, because
Exactly.
half of a lot of money is a lot of
You
money.
remind me of this saying which says, the world is enough for everybody's need and not for everybody's greed.
Oh, that's powerful.
So for everybody's
Yeah.
need, this world is
It's
enough.
Yet
You know-
we have people who are homeless.
Yet we have people who are homeless. We have projects to try to find life in Mars, but we cannot finance
Yeah,
simple things on earth that can sustain life.
I see.
You understand?
I see.
So that is the problem that we have as humanity, the problem of selfishness. So from the Christian perspective, God is love. Let me begin it from there. And when you try to define love, love is selflessness.
Because I remember 1 Corinthians chapter 13.
Yes.
Now that you talk about selflessness.
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember the verse that says, love does not seek
The things of its own.
the things of its own.
Yes.
It delights in seeing fulfillment.
Exactly. In others instead of yourself. So I want to challenge all my religious friends, all my non-religious friends, to explore and examine the character of the God whom I believe, if he exists, we need to try to follow this one. He's the one who is love, the one who commands love, the one who advocates placing others before one's own needs. So since for us Christians, God is love, it means his commandments, his law also has to be love.
Makes sense.
So
Yeah, it makes sense.
the God who is love has to give laws which are the laws of love. So for argument's sake, let's just say this God exists. He is love. If he is love, the laws that come from him has to be or have to be the laws of love. Now we are being introduced to the 10 commandments. The reason why I'm going to the 10 commandments as found in the Bible, it is because I have found that the laws governing most societies, most institutions, most countries, even international laws, they have been derived directly from the 10 commandments.
Okay.
Let me just make an example on that.
I'm trying to think about it.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and it makes sense. Because I'm trying to think of any nation,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
that can condone
Yeah.
murder. You know,
None.
none. There is none.
None.
We can make an example about this one of theft.
Yes.
Botswana, for example.
Yes.
If you steal, man, it means something.
You may even be liable to capital punishment sometimes.
Yeah.
Just from theft alone.
Yes.
Yes. So there's no country which condones theft. Not even the atheists. I know I have my friends that they don't condone that. And that is exactly what we find within the 10 commandments. So God gives the law, which is love. So for our fellow Christians, I think I'll still be citing some Bible examples so that during our free time we may just go and verify the things that we are talking about. I think it's in Matthew chapter 22. There's one of the guys who comes to Jesus challenging him about the greatest commandment ever given. And Jesus, when answering, he says, the greatest commandment given to men is for men to love God. And the second commandment, which is like it, is for men to love others as he loves himself. That's the second commandment. So that means it's more like God is saying to us, as my creatures, the best way for you to live is to live by love. To make this love to be more sensible to you, let me break it down. This law of love, let's break it down into two. The first commandment is for you to love and to acknowledge me as the creator. Because once you acknowledge the creator, you are bound by conscience, you are bound by your own belief to listen to the law that this creator of yours has given, just like the parents. If you acknowledge the existence of your parent, you are bound to abide by the laws of your parents for your own good, by the way. That means without the acknowledgement of the lawgiver, you can never keep the law. Without the acknowledgement of the authorities in the country, without the acknowledgement of the magistrates, the legislature, the executive, all those structures of the government, without acknowledging them, you are not going to keep the law that they are giving. So that is the first thing, to acknowledge authority, that there is a higher authority to whom I'm going to be accountable. So that means, for example, if there's no God, for example, and there is a law which says, thou shalt not murder, I can just murder and get away with it because there's no God. There is not going to be any accountability. So I have license to do that.
Yes. Oh, meaning, why does it seem to connect with something? Because you're saying, first I have to acknowledge the authority.
Yes, the higher power.
The higher power, the existence and the position.
Yes.
You know? And it's only that I can respect the law.
Yes.
And even know the consequences
of this
of the
thing
law
that you're doing.
Or
accountability.
the nature of the law, or the heart.
Yes.
I just thought I wanted to get
the heart of
the law.
Yes.
What was the purpose of this law? It's only if I know where it comes from.
Yes.
And I know the purpose of the one who issued this law.
Exactly. And the nature of the law itself will determine if the lawgiver is a just person in whom we can trust. So if in verity we agree with my atheist friends and other people that murder is wrong, whosoever gives the law which says thou shalt not murder, I think that person loves us and has our best interest at heart. As much as there'll be consequences for it, the primary purpose is for us to live in harmony, in peace and happiness.
Nobody can disagree with that.
Yes. So the purpose of giving the laws is not just to punish the evildoers.
Yes, because now when you are talking about looking at the law and then knowing the heart of the one who issued the law, it reminds me of the discussion of Bitcoin.
Yes, okay.
And these people are saying, we do not know who Satoshi is, and we don't care.
We're not interested, yes.
Because he has given us the algorithm.
Exactly.
And we have minds to assess the algorithm.
Oh, yes.
And are convinced that this is a secure
Thank you so much. That's the greatest parallel, I think, which comes to mind. We often argue about God because we cannot see him.
Yeah.
We cannot, it's like the way to him is more untraceable, just like the creator of Bitcoin. You can try to trace who did this thing, where is this guy?
Yeah.
You cannot find it. But what he has given us, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That we acknowledge that even if we do not know him, even if we have never seen him, we are sure that
this
he
was
thing is
not
waiting.
cheating us.
Exactly, this
he
thing is
didn't
waiting.
Cheat us, and it doesn't benefit in any way.
And it was for our own good. That is exactly how I think we can picture God. So I said the first law was to love that God, to acknowledge him, to have a relationship with him, so that you may acknowledge the beauty of the law. And now that we have acknowledged there's a superior or higher intelligence or power above us, we need to come to a point where the second part of the law says you should love others as you love yourself. I think it's a common saying or proverb in almost every culture that I know, that do unto others as you'd like them to do unto you. Buddha says it. You go to the Indians, the Hindus, you will find the same thing.
Yes.
You go
The
for
golden rule.
Exactly, it is called the golden rule.
Yes.
So it means or it's more like it's embedded within us that this is the right thing.
Yeah.
But remember that we said without first acknowledging the source from which it comes from, it will never make sense to us. That's the first reason why we just trample upon it and don't think about others. Now, those commandments, I said they are 10. It's actually one commandment of love, divided into two. Love for God, the supernatural power, then love for the fellow human beings. Now, it's more like this God that we are dealing with, things that these people cannot understand or fully grasp this concept of what it means to love God. Let me break it down to you. That is where we get the first 4 commandments from Exodus chapter 20. The first commandment, you should not have other gods before me. It's more like when the government says, or let's bring it into our context, we are in Lesotho now.
Yes.
This is, or our type of kingdom or government is monarchy. So when the king says you should not have another king besides him, it means no one should be able to give you laws except for him.
For him, yes.
Not even yourself. You yourself should not give yourself laws except for the ones that he gave. That's what the first commandment means. Exactly. The second commandment says you should not make a graven image. The graven image means the sort of religious system that suits you as a person, which is the problem with many of our religious systems that even give bad reputation to the name religion itself, because I can just come up with my own religion, have define my own terms. Define my own terms, desire for what I want, and then set that thing up as religion and as a god, the one thing that I can control instead of the thing that can control me. Then he says, stop doing that. The third commandment, do not take the name of the Lord God in vain. What does that mean? You should not take it lightly. You should not despise it. The authority has to be respected. When you are driving at a high speed, you see the policeman over there. You shouldn't just see the policeman. You should see the authority behind that policeman. You should not talk back to that policeman, because there might be consequences from the higher power which exists. So we are still trying to redefine the first part of the law. Then the fourth one, which I think is one of the most important, it says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. You will work for 6 days, and on the 7th day you will rest. That's not where I am interested. Where I'm interested, Exodus chapter 20 verse 11. It says, for in 6 days the Lord God created the heaven and the earth and rested on the 7th day. So that issue or that concept of resting on one particular day, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties of which is the Sabbath and which is not the Sabbath, but that acknowledgement of resting on one of the 7 days of the week means I acknowledge that there's a higher power which created everything in just 6 days and rested on the 7th day.
Meaning, it makes sense for someone who does not acknowledge this power to just choose to do something, something else on this day that has been set apart
to acknowledge and to commemorate.
I think it makes sense now.
This
okay,
power.
but okay, I think this is interesting. We should set another day in which we get to discuss this issue of because we have these conflicting theories of creation versus evolution
and the Big Bang theory.
Yes. Where do we come from?
Yes.
Because today we are discussing where does evil come from?
Yes.
But I think also this one is very important.
Before we have evil in us, where do we come from?
Where do we come from also?
Okay, yes, thank you.
Because
thank you so much.
Maybe evil is part of us. We come from the same place.
Where evil comes from. Yes.
Okay, so I think one day we will get to talk about it.
That, yes.
I think you will also be interested in it. So stay tuned. Do not miss out. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, Lord. So still on that point, as much as I'm not going to dwell on it, there is more evidence scientific evidence that suggests that there is some intelligence behind the creation that we have. Why do I say that? Most of our, or much of our technology, it was copied from natural stuff. And nothing, no level of technology can match that which is natural. You can talk about the eyes, you can talk about the ears, you can talk about the brain.
Yeah.
I heard you talking about AI, the codes. You know, you program this thing to do what you want it to do. It learns of its own self.
Yes.
It is impossible for a robot to evolve. I'm challenging my atheist friends on that one. Such complex things as AI to just evolve by chance on their own. There should be a higher and more intelligent brain to help that thing function best. Now our brains are much more intelligent than those things, which requires the creator, the intelligent creator.
Yeah.
Chance, not anywhere, has ever produced the piece of information as we find in the DNA. DNA is a code. So computer scientists will agree with me on what codes do and how come that we have codes. You have code because there was an intelligent person who wanted to embed information inside a seed. There's a DNA. So we acknowledge that power which has created those things.
That's why I said, without God, I think we are lucky too much. I will get to this to explain why I'm saying that. Without God, we are lucky too much.
Oh, yes,
I'm not saying,
that's super luck.
I'm not saying we are too much luck.
Yes, that's super luck. Like,
exactly. So I do not know who can, and that super luck should have been invented also.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
there is no way.
It becomes more paradoxical. But we will talk about it. I think let us not get diverted from the.
Yes.
The
so I was just saying there is no way that planet Earth can sustain life as it does without some overarching intelligence above it. But despite of that good that we see and the hypothetical God that we are creating now in our discussion, there's still some evil which exists despite that good that we see naturally in the world. So we are getting to the sixth commandment, or in fact the fifth, which says, honor your mother and father. Even as an atheist, you are expecting your child to honor you. Among the Basotos, you know that you should not mess up with anyone older than you in any way. Not even your biological parents.
Yeah, and we know the ramifications for that.
Exactly.
If they say, you have to go and ask for forgiveness.
For forgiveness from that person, because it's more like a curse.
Yes.
And you are just going to be... I don't even know what to say, but not even near an animal behavior, because some of the things that we do as people for disregarding these laws, we do things that even animals would not do, as much as they are way below us in terms of intelligence.
Yes.
Like, a human being can rape a 6 months child. A dog can never do that.
I was actually trying to remember, like to think of any animal.
Exactly.
Yeah, that has ever done that.
No. It is only found in human beings. Such evil.
Only because we have refused to acknowledge.
Only because we have refused to acknowledge the higher power. So you do not respect your parents. Talk about the sixth one. You should not kill. People are killing and murdering each other like nobody's business. Seventh commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. You're married to a wife, you wouldn't want your wife sleeping around with other men.
Yeah.
Whether you're an atheist or you're a Christian, that one is non-negotiable. Understand? So the eighth commandment, you should not steal. That one we said it is wrong. The penitentiaries and the prisons are full of people who do these things that are condemned in the Bible, which shows the existence of evil in a way that we say it. You talk about the ninth commandment that you should never ever say false accusations about other people. Many penitentiaries are full. The graveyards are full because of people who lied about others. in the courts of law, there are so many people who are lying. There are so many people who are getting injustice just because of some lies. And we know that lying and cheating is not good.
Yes.
You talk about the 10th commandment, the one that says you should not envy what others have,
Yes.
so that you feel like you also should have it.
Yeah.
It boils back to the issue of selfishness, the absence of love, the absence of the character of God. Now, this is where it gets to the center of our discussion. That this war, as much as we see it, did not start with us. We just took it from somewhere, from two higher powers.
Okay.
Yes.
No, let me sit straight. Okay.
I think the Chinese, they call it the yin and the yang.
I see the thing. That has a black and white thing.
Like an
snakes.
S. And they say in evil, there's some good. That's why inside black, there's a small white dot.
Okay.
Then in good, there's
a
some
small
evil.
black dot.
So inside that white thing, there's a small dot. And they say it seems that the life that we are living on this earth is more of the combination of this thing that we see. Because believe you me, even the person that we regard as the most evil, there's still some element of good inside that person.
Even the one that
The person that we perceive as good, there is still some element of evil inside that person. So there's that mixture. For them, they think it's a good balance. But for us Christians, we don't believe it's a good balance. Yes.
Meaning they're saying that for you to define good, there must be evil to compare good with.
Exactly.
Meaning we need evil.
That's what they are saying.
I get it, because I once came across this yin and yang philosophy.
Yes.
That says there's no way that you can just have good.
There should also be evil so that we can define good.
But I think actually we have that problem as people.
Yeah.
Because the concept of heaven, many people can't comprehend. Because they can't imagine living a life without hurting.
That's how much we have been damaged. I'm sorry to say, but that's just how much we have been damaged. I remember.
So many people are more on the side of this Chinese philosophy.
Exactly.
Than what the Bible says.
Yes.
Because the Bible is too good to be true.
Of course.
As far as they're concerned.
I once had a colleague, I think back in 2014. I just asked this person a simple question. What do you think would happen to our world if everyone kept the 10 commandments as they are? Just think about it. Whether you're an atheist or you are anyone. Because one of the things that, which are valid points, atheists are touching Christians about, is that as much as Christians believe in the laws, they do not practice what they preach. All these things that we agree on, even for Christians, they find a problem living according to that. So we are saying hypothetically, let's think about it. Think about a society in which all these 10 commandments are kept. This is what this lady said. She said it would be perfect. But I think it would be boring. That's what she said. That is just how much we... And the life of a Christian or the religious life as defined by the Bible seems to be boring because of its goodness. So we are so much accustomed to evil to a point where we believe good is boring and it is impossible to live by good alone without the existence of evil, as much as we all acknowledge that evil is bad and we're not supposed to do it. So it means there's that higher evil power which exists, which we now need to unpack. Yes, sir.
Well, I remember there was a time when I was in South Africa. I hope the family will not watch this. I went to a family, so loving family.
Yes.
Like when you get there, you feel so welcome. These people, they over welcome you. You know.
Okay.
Until you feel like I no longer need to come back.
Yes.
I feel like
It's so good.
Yeah, they're
Too
they're
good to
doing
be
too
true.
much for me.
Yeah.
They're doing too much. Like,
Yes.
I feel like I need myself now.
Yes.
Yeah, so I agree with you when you say that's how much we've been damaged.
Yes.
We've been damaged to the extent that it would, I don't know what it would take for us to believe that we can live a life of joy,
Yes.
happiness,
Yeah.
without evil.
Now, here's the point that I wanted to drive at. As Christians, we do believe as much as there is God, there came out of nowhere the existence of evil in one of his creatures. Before human beings were created, some angels were created. Among the angels who were closest to God was the angel by the name of Lucifer. Lucifer was a perfect angel until evil was found in him. When one writer talks about evil, she says, evil has no origin that can be explained. To explain it or to find an excuse for it is to defend it. And if we can find a plausible excuse for evil, it ceases to be evil.
Yeah.
So for it to be evil, it has to be unaccounted for. It should just appear out of nowhere so that we can acknowledge that it
this
is
is
evil. Just as good came from nowhere. God, the goodness, the love,
Yeah.
you cannot trace and say this is where it came from.
Yeah.
But you and I, from our logical perspective, I don't want to be too philosophical. Good comes before evil.
Yes.
Even before doing things that we know they are wrong, there should be some good thoughts that come.
Yes.
We have to fight and overcome those good thoughts
Yeah.
so that we may
So that we
continue
become evil.
with our evil plans and evil
Continually.
schemes. And yet we know that those things are wrong. So that means it is logical to suggest that good came before evil. But somewhere along the line, evil just popped up. Now, this mighty angel, what he wanted to do was to introduce the opposite of what God is. Remember, we said God is love. And love, the concept of love is selflessness, placing others before yourself. So even when God created things, he created them out of love so that he may love them. Remember one person asking me why I want to have children? It was before I got married, after getting married. It was the most difficult question. Why I wanted to have children. Some think, well, of course, we come from African countries, so that when you are old and retired, they may help you. But really, that is not the ultimate purpose. What if you have it all? Like Elon Musk, I think he has it all, that guy.
Yeah.
But he has kids.
Yeah.
Why does
Why
he
would
do
he
those?
make kids?
Yes, why would he make babies? So the simple answer to that, which we can argue on it, is that we make babies to love them. You just enjoy loving this thing that you brought into the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get fulfillment when you love your family, when you love these kids that you have reproduced.
Yeah.
So that is exactly why God created everything, to love those creatures and for them to be like him, to reflect the love, so that there may be continual happiness and peace. So this angel thought in himself that, no, let me do the opposite. What if everything becomes about me? What if I can be like God? What if I can control everything? So the love of power, it was from the same selfish motive.
Yeah.
To envy God as the creator, yet this thing was the creature. It was because of the selfish motive. He was perfect in all his ways until iniquity or evil was found in him. That is in Ezekiel chapter 28, I think from verse 10 and 11 going down. For those who have their Bibles, you can just recheck those things. I know there are some arguments, of course, as to whether the Bible is addressing the king of Tyre or it is addressing Lucifer, the devil, as he had been called before. But it is not a difficult concept for Christians to acknowledge that this spirit can possess any and everyone. And sometimes God can address the spirit which has been possessing people. It's more like if I command someone, maybe I'm the head of the mafia, then I command one of my men as a hitman to kill the president. Who killed the president? Was it me who gave the command, or was it that person who shot the president? Or was it the bullet which shot the president? Or was it the pain which was caused by the bullet? So we go round in circles unless we get the source.
Exactly.
Actually, the person who killed that is
one who
me
killed
who
was-
gave the orders or the commandments.
Yeah.
All right. So this means the devil was working through the king of Tyre. This is why God wanted to address this particular person and how he is going to end, or this particular angel. So ever since his rebellion in heaven against the principles of God, it has been war since then up until now. And we find that war in Revelation chapter 12. It discusses that there was war in heaven. I think it's around verse 7 of the same, but we can
I remember
start it
reading
from
that,
chapter 12, verse 1.
I remember reading that chapter. I think I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very shocked
Yes.
about war
Mm-hmm.
in heaven.
Yes. Let's just go to it.
A war,
War in heaven.
because you would think that in heaven it's where
Place
goodness
of peace.
dwells,
Yes.
you know, and holiness,
Yes.
peace and harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And God gives a commandment,
Yes.
everybody does.
Yes.
But now there's war.
There's war from that one particular person who rebelled against God. So we are reading in Revelation chapter 12 as we are approaching the end. I think our time is now a bit
Yes,
limited.
yeah.
And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. This is actually what happened. This is the source of the evil that we are talking about. The first creature
Yeah.
to come up with evil was Lucifer. And then he recruited all his
Others.
members
Yes.
so that they can also become evil like himself, just like it is happening in our governments today. We know that we have the two sides of the government. We have especially democratic governments,
Yes. Yeah.
not the dictatorship governments.
Yes. Yeah.
We have the ruling party. Then we have the opposition party. The opposition is the one which opposes the
Yes.
ruling party.
Yeah.
And those two opposites cannot coexist for long. The one may bear along with the other, but eventually one has to be done away with. This is why the opposition and the ruling party cannot both rule. The one has to rule and the other one has to oppose.
Yeah.
So that is exactly what the devil was doing. He was opposing everything that God has said. When God says, thou shalt not steal, he says, thou shalt surely steal. Thou shalt not murder, he says,
Surely murder.
thou shalt murder. Now, people keep asking why God did not destroy Lucifer from the onset while he rebelled. But here is the problem. It is because if he had killed or destroyed Lucifer right there and then, others who were watching would think, what if the devil or Lucifer had a point? Why was he killed so quickly? So God had to let this angel live and exist continually so that we may see the results
Okay.
of obeying this
Yeah.
one.
Let there be opposition.
Let there be opposition so that we may see the reliability and the strength of that which is good, and maybe the goodness of that good. Because maybe without that existence of evil, we wouldn't even understand why this one that we are talking about is good. So the consequences of evil have to exist so that we may see. And according to the Bible, for almost about 6,000 years,
Yeah.
it has been continuing, and we can see and acknowledge that evil is not good and we don't need evil. As much as we can try to balance them to coexist, they do not coexist. Wherever there is evil, there is death and there is pain, and we don't need that. We just need this one which is good. You understand? So God did not destroy Lucifer together with the angels.
Yeah.
Now, God, after creating the angels, he creates human beings in his likeness, after his own image. That is found in Genesis chapter 1. This is why I love this story where a young man goes to his father, or rather, let me say, a young boy. He goes to his father, asking the father, "Father, where do we come from?" The father tells him, "No, as a human being, we're created by God in his image." So that's where we come from. The first human being was created by God, 2 human beings. Then from there, they kept on reproducing, and that's how we are here. Then the same boy went to the mother. "Mother, where do we come from originally?" The mother says, "No, we had the same ancestors with the chimpanzees and all those animals. That's where we come from. We evolved from those things." Then this kid came to their father saying, "Father, whatever you said to me was not true. Mom told me that we actually come from the same ancestors as the chimps or the monkeys."
Yeah. The baboons and so on.
Then the father simply said, "No, your mother is talking from her own side of the family." So I was also talking from my own side. So from my own side, we come from God, but your mother comes from the monkeys. So the point that I was trying to drive at is that human beings, when they were created in the image of God. If human beings are intelligent, God had to be intelligent. If human beings can see and perceive and sense, God himself had to do those things.
Definitely.
But unlike God, it seems that inside these human beings, there came evil. At first, from the hand of the Creator, man was perfect and he obeyed God. But God, since he is the God of love, love goes with choice. Let me repeat that again. Love goes with choice. That's why God gave us opportunity to choose between good and evil. And that, according to me, makes him the good God.
Definitely.
Because if we were automated or programmed to do good, then we wouldn't be doing it out of our own free will.
Yeah.
And we would just be forced to do it. What if we wanted to do evil? Then God would be unjust or unjust
Yeah.
to do that to us. So he had to give us what? Choice. Freedom. So he placed a tree in the garden, the tree of evil and good. Then he gave these people opportunity to taste of all the trees in the Garden of Eden, except for that one tree, which was the tree of good and evil.
Yes.
So these people had a choice. And by the way, their choice was not limited. God is so gracious. He gives them all the fruits except for one. He doesn't give them one and say you should not eat everything. You eat everything but this one. Then this angel that we talked about came to the garden to attempt to deceive, to challenge the authority of God. Remember, we said we cannot talk about evil without the absence of good and good without the absence of evil in this context. So we need to see who can win. Then he sold whatever he said through lies and deceptions. In Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, he's said to be the great serpent, the deceiver of the whole world. Deception is a bit more different from lie. When you lie, you say things blatantly, which is not true, which is false. Like to say the pages of this Bible are black. Yet we can see that they are white. That is a pure lie. But when you talk about deception, we talk about the greater part of truth, which has been mixed with a little bit of error or falsehood. That is what makes it the most dangerous. You understand? Now, this guy challenges God. Of course, if you read the story in Genesis chapter 3, says to them, God knows that if you disobey him, you will be like him. Because already the devil himself wanted to be like God. And so human beings also envied the position of God. Remember, they were already made in the image of God. But once you want to challenge the higher authority, you end up missing the basic facts. Those are basic facts. You're already like God. Why do you want to be like him? And then they so wanted to be like him. And then they disobeyed. And they did not become like the God who created them. They now became like the new God.
In the New Testament.
Yes.
The temptation
of Jesus. Yes.
If thou be the Son of God,
turn the stones into bread.
Meaning, I felt like if I was Jesus Christ, I could have just turned the
stones into bread.
Yeah.
To prove the point.
Okay. I see now. If you are
the Son of God. Yes.
It seems to, to put doubt.
Yes, it instills doubt.
It insinuates doubt
in whatever truth that already exists. So he already had a problem with the Son of God, and he wanted to do what? To instill doubt in him. Now that God created human beings in his own image, just like he had a son who was like him, he also wanted to instill what? Some jealousy or some doubt inside. Unfortunately, he succeeded to cause people to disobey God. And the wages of sin, which is the transgression or evil, the breaking of God's law, that's what evil is. 1 John chapter 3 verse 4. You break that law of God, you have done evil. You fail to love, you are evil. That's all in its entirety. So those people fail to love God, they disobeyed him, and then evil came into our world. Now, here is the most interesting part, that MTV. The devil had his argument. He went back to God, to heaven. Remember, this is war. This is not a physical war. We are talking about politics, spiritual elements. We are talking about political elements. We are not talking about just physical stuff. And I think people in power will understand this more. That political fights between the leaders are much more serious even than the physical boxing wars and the guns that we carry. Because those guns that we carry are only the end result. Of the arguments that are discussed in the big seminars and the governments. You understand? Exactly. So this guy from the opposition challenges God. He says, God, you said you are just as a God, and you are also merciful and loving as a God. So if what you are saying is true about yourself, these people have sinned now. You have to forgive them and have mercy on them if you are a loving and merciful God. At the same time, since evil has been done, there should be accountability. The wages of sin is death. You should kill these people because they have transgressed and broken your law. Because you had told them that if they eat of the tree, they are going to die. So the devil was now accusing God in that, God, you cannot be both merciful and just at the same time. It's a lie. It is impossible.
Now the ruling party has to...
The ruling party has to defend.
It's under pressure now.
It's under pressure now. So people who are in debate can understand this. I think this was the most difficult dilemma in which God found himself. I think if I was caught, I don't know what I would have done. Because if God kills these people, he ceases to be merciful. So he cannot be a loving God. If God has mercy on these people and just leaves them to get away with it without punishment of the evil that exists. He cannot be just.
Yeah.
And we are crying about injustice now. When we began this thing, we said one of the most evil things that we can see in our world is injustice.
Exactly.
So he had to be the evil God. So if he loses the argument, then
That
the
one
devil
becomes right.
together with his angels have to be right. And they have to be the ruling party. So they have to topple down the crown of the king.
And some of the, because now we're talking about angels.
Yes.
Because Satan, when he was overcome,
Yes.
he was overcome together with some angels who had been
Exactly.
on his partner.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
who have crossed over.
Yes, they had crossed over to his side. So he was no longer alone. There was
Meaning
flow
his
crossing.
argument.
Yes.
That he puts forth
Yes.
in Parliament.
Yes.
That we have now a problem.
Yes. Concerning the ruling party.
Let's now look at the typical example down there that has happened.
This is what
People
has
have
happened.
transgressed your law.
Yes. As
And
for
by
us,
definition,
you expelled us from heaven. You said
Yes.
we are no longer allowed to be part of the ruling team, as much as we had some wonderful ideas to improve
yes,
on the governance.
Yeah.
We are sick and tired of you a tyrant.
yeah. But we are fine. We are on the opposition.
But we are on the opposition.
Yeah.
But if we are right, then acknowledge that
Yeah.
you have lost and I'm
So
going
they
to
have a
ascend.
debate, these people,
So there's a debate in here.
which now seems to suggest that God has to do something
God has to do something to vindicate himself.
because he has the majority.
Yes.
And if he loses, some of the angels might want to, think about it
Yes.
and get to decide, and he might cross over to the other side.
He has to
And he
defend.
loses votes,
There's a game of chess.
and he has 2/3 majority.
The king
And
is
the
under
2/3
check.
majority maintains the constitution.
Exactly. He has 2/3. And that one has 1/3. Actually, in Revelation chapter 12, it says the same thing. Let's just read that. Thank you, Dad, for bringing that thing up. Where does 2/3 come from? The majority. Revelation chapter 12, let's just read from verse 4, talking about the dragon or Satan when he's represented here. It says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them on the earth. Third part of the stars of heaven. So that means he had 1/3 minority. So that the God has 2/3
Yeah,
majority.
he has 2/3, and by definition of our constitution,
Yes.
if you have 2/3 majority,
You are
you
still-
can amend the constitution,
Exactly.
meaning you have absolute power.
Over. But now, if he's God, he shouldn't be wrong.
Yeah.
And if he's God, whatever he says has to be right. This is where the concept of Christianity comes from, the birth, the heart of Christianity. Jesus Christ, being the Son of God, he came. The resolution was for God to be just. His Son has to sacrifice his life and accept the punishment that should have fallen on humanity. You understand? Now, again, if Jesus dies, justice is being served, people are free to go. They have mercy and pardon.
I see.
So he comes as the ultimate solution to the problem which exists. That is
Yeah.
the center.
And the opposition didn't see it coming.
No. They don't know what hit them.
I remember when I was young, there was a time when, you remember, like I went to school during the free primary.
Yes.
And we had those, older boys.
Yes.
We were now coming back because their parents couldn't afford.
Exactly.
So
You
now
just
we
reminded
were,
me of something. Yes. Yeah.
going to school together with
Yes. Because
we
it was
are-
now free.
Yes. And we are late.
Yes.
And when we are late, we are now being punished. It is in winter.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
You know how
Yes,
in
yes,
winter
yes,
you
yes,
can
yes.
be late, And you're already crying even before being beaten.
Yes.
And I remember one of the older brothers said, "Ma'am, can I just be punished for this one?"
Yeah.
And he took double. And I was free.
And with ease. And we are free and we are happy.
I was happy and thankful.
Exactly. So that's what Christianity is about. Now, there's an last element that I want us to discuss before wrapping up our discussion. God, in his wisdom, when he created man, he made sure that if the first person can transgress, all his posterity are also going to inherit the same transgression. Science is discovering now that some of the actions that we do tend to have bearing on our genetics, so that even our offsprings can inherit that. Drunkenness. If you are too much of a heavy drunkard, you are going to alter your genes as a result. And your posterity is going to inherit that. Stress. If you had been a stressed parent, that is going to be translated into your DNA, which is going to be translated into your sons. So that means all the sons of Adam, because of the poor choice that Adam did, were now automatically inclined to evil. That is why all of us are evil, both Christians and atheists. Religion cannot save you from that state. There should be a higher power, higher than religion itself, that can take you out of that state. And we are trying to present that power, being Jesus Christ himself, through the Holy Spirit. It's something that takes supernatural power to free us from this bondage of sin, because it is bondage. There are people who are addicts. They know that these things are wrong, they are destroying our health, but they just cannot help it. It just happens. Like the argument I was having with my atheist friend, I know he wishes to do good as far as he thinks good is, but he just cannot do it because of what he has inherited from somewhere. So it all began by the transgression of Adam. But that is good news. Do you know why? Because if God did not allow that thing to pass, it means we needed so many messiahs and deliverers. That means each one of us had to have an individual who would die on his behalf for him to be free.
Oh, that's why we have the concept of the first Adam.
Exactly. That's why we have the concept of the first Adam in Romans chapter 5.
Yeah, and then we have this one who comes and
as the second Adam.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about this issue of genes, I was somehow, skeptic about it.
Yes.
Because I was looking at the way the child gets the DNA.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. And I was surprised. Recently, I was watching a presentation by one of the former evolutionists.
Yes.
He's now a creationist.
Okay.
And he was sharing about how the habits of a parent can be passed on to a
child. A child, yes.
Even illnesses and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
It seems like the chromosomes, they curl themselves around some particular proteins. I don't remember the names of those proteins.
Yes.
And those proteins are tuned by the behaviors of the parent. So
the parent is reprogramming himself.
Yes.
To be reproduced in the child.
These chromosomes,
yes.
in as much as they themselves, sometimes they may get even damaged.
Yes.
Sometimes, even if they are not damaged, but those proteins upon which these chromosomes have curled themselves, they get programmed.
Exactly.
That is being tuned.
Exactly.
To listen to particular messages that are going through the body.
Yes.
Meaning, those proteins, they get passed on to a child.
Exactly.
And this child is born with them.
Going to behave just like the parent. And unfortunately, as time goes on, it gets worse. The evil that we are talking about. The generations do uglier things than the preceding ones. We know that for sure. So because of that, God made sure that if through Adam, we would all be guilty. It means through Christ, if we believe in him, spiritually now, going to a higher level, to a higher dimension, we can be freed now from the problem of evil. And that is how God is dealing with what? With evil. So the ultimate defeat of evil was on the cross when Jesus died. That's when the argument was finished. So the only thing which is left now to me and to you, the listener, is for us to choose sides, because God's love is patient until we come back. Only when we acknowledge, we see this problem of evil, we acknowledge ourselves to be, and that we cannot help it, and then cry for help from that higher power. I have seen the lives of people changing because of the same messages we are talking about. And that change in life is the greatest argument for the God whom we serve. So is my appeal to Christians first, before everyone else, to acknowledge our own wickedness, to acknowledge our own evil. To be religious doesn't mean you're righteous. You should accept. After accepting, acknowledge that you need help so that God can help you, as much as we wish that he can also help our fellow atheist friends. And that would be the end of evil. It's just a matter of time, because ultimately our choices will be sealed beyond the point of no return. If we keep on choosing evil and evil and evil, there comes a point when you cannot even choose good. But now that we still have that chance, we still have the Spirit of God waking, that inner voice which always says to you, this is wrong. I know even for people who are atheists, agnostics, or anyone, there's always that inner voice deep inside the conscience which says, this thing is wrong. That is the voice of God speaking. I so wish we can go and try to find where this God is.
Connect with God.
To connect with God, to pray to him. I think science has shown us that we don't need physical contact or physical senses to know that things exist. We now know there are atoms, there are waves. There are so many things that we cannot see, yet we know that those things exist.
Exactly.
So I think even with is the same with the concept of God. If we can understand that there's a higher power, as much as we cannot see that power, let's just venture and just take an excursion, or just take a journey to go and find this God. And I guarantee you we can find that God. The story that we began with, it was people who were going to look out for evil where it comes from. I think it's a high time that we go and try to find this good. Yes. So this guy, the devil, is now trying to win people over to his side, because he knows that his case has been done with. Only justice is awaiting him. But we have a chance of being forgiven and going back to be united with our Father, to live with him for eternity. That will be the end of the great controversy between these two people, which we find ourselves to be in the middle of this.
In fact, captured.
Captured, yes.
By default, we find ourselves on the side of evil.
Yes.
But we've been given chance by the death.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
The death of Christ.
The death of Christ has given us chance.
And thankfully, his resurrection, because
yes, without his resurrection, then
there's no hope.
There's no hope. And for those who are in love with the Old Testament, I'm talking to my Jewish friends, it will make much more sense now to understand that the devil, the adversary, by the way, the name devil or Satan means the adversary, the opposer. He has been defeated. Why do we say he has been defeated? Back then, he would be allowed into the councils of God. You go to the book of Job chapter 1, when the sons of God gather, you see that Satan also appears. The reason why he was among them, it is because back in Eden, after selling his lies to the human beings, they were commanded to have dominion over the earth. So they gave over part of the dominion that they had to the devil.
To the devil.
So the devil had to represent them.
Meaning that
in the council of God.
In the council of God.
Yes.
Adam
had to be the one.
Is the one who had the right
to represent planet Earth.
Okay. But just like the, what we call them?
The ambassadors, or the and
so on.
Exactly, the leader of the constituency.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, the ones that are elected by the people over there.
To go and represent them in parliament.
Exactly. So Adam elected Satan. And now Satan had to be the representative.
To be the one in charge.
Exactly. This is why in the book of Job we see him appearing there, because
Okay.
and
That's why we have the what? The rule of the government,
exactly.
but not being not being practiced on earth.
Yes.
Because the ruler of this world. In fact, why do I feel like there's a verse that says that the ruler of this world?
Yes, there is. That actually it begins from the God. 2 Corinthians 4:4.
Yeah.
It talks about the devil as the God of this world.
Yeah.
Then in John chapter 12, verse 31, Jesus Christ says the devil is the prince of this world, or the king of this world. So he's
And
the one
somewhere
who
else,
is in rulership here.
Yes, and somewhere else it says the ruler of this world
Will be judged.
Yeah.
Yes. That is in
Okay.
chapter 15, I think,
So
around
he
verse 40.
opposes
Yes.
everything that the government
Yes.
in heaven
Yes.
has implemented,
Yes.
so that he exercises his own.
For those who love politics in Lesotho, they would understand perfectly that some members of the opposition in the parliament
Yeah.
have been elected in their constituencies.
Yes, by
This is
those-
why they represent those ones in the government as much as they are opposition.
Yeah.
That was what was happening with Lucifer until Christ died on the cross. And when Christ died on the cross, he lost the constituency. And so he could not, the seat could not be reserved for him in parliament. This is why he was thrown
I
out
see.
in Revelation chapter 12. He was
I
thrown
see
out.
now.
Yes.
Or meaning, the devil lost to Christ.
He lost to Christ
Okay.
when Christ died on the cross to redeem us back to himself.
That's why it also makes sense that he was supposed to be resurrected.
Exactly. He had to be
Without
resurrected.
his resurrection, we do not have a representative.
Yes, without his
This is powerful.
resurrection, we have
Very
no
interesting.
representative.
Yeah.
And I like how Paul puts it. He says he's the advocate. He uses the advocacy language.
Yeah.
Because we are the accused. The devil is said to be the accuser of the brethren.
Yes.
But we have somebody who has paid our fine.
Yeah.
So he can best present the argument on our behalf.
Exactly.
We only have to trust in him. That as he's defending us against the allegations, he's also working some miraculous transformation within our lives so that we may be happy eventually. And that will be the end of the great controversy that we are discussing.
Wow.
Yes.
I don't know if you feel what I feel. I think this has been a very productive discussion.
Yeah.
But I don't think I have had enough.
Yeah.
I feel like there's just so much that we still had to unpack. And let me know in the comments below if you want us to have this discussion going further. Because I feel like it. I don't know about you. But until next time, stay with us so that we will get to see how far we can go with this discussion. Shalom.
God bless.